There is a stone sitting in a jewelry store window right now that somebody paid $10,000 for 5 years ago. Today, you can buy the exact same thing. Same cut, same clarity, same chemical composition, indistinguishable to any human eye or standard microscope, for $800. Not a knockoff, not a simulant, a real diamond. And the reason that $10,000 stone is now worth $800 has nothing to do with fashion, a recession, or people falling out of love. It has to do with a province in central China most Western consumers never think about, and a technology that turned one of the greatest marketing myths in history into a pile of carbon anyone can now afford. Here is the part the jewelry industry does not want you to think too carefully about. The diamond was never actually scarce. The price you paid was never really about geology. It was about a story, a very expensive, very carefully maintained story. And China just ended it. Here is how it happened, and why the company that controlled diamonds for over a century is now sitting on $2 billion of stones it cannot sell. To understand what China did to the diamond market, you have to understand what the market actually was, not what it told you. What it was. Diamonds are not geologically rare. They are found in Russia, Botswana, Canada, Australia, dozens of countries. The supply was never the problem. So how did a common mineral become the ultimate luxury symbol? One company, one decision, one slogan. De Beers, founded in 1888 by Cecil Rhodes, controlled 90% of world production within years. Their strategy was ruthless in its simplicity. Stockpile the rough, release it slowly, manufacture scarcity where none existed. But supply control wasn't enough. They needed demand to be mandatory. In 1947, ad agency N.W. Ayer gave them 4 words: a diamond is forever. Those words didn't just sell a ring. They sold the idea that love without a diamond was incomplete, that a man's feelings could be measured in carats, and, crucially, that reselling a diamond was a moral failure, because love has no resale value. It killed the secondary market before it existed. In the 1930s, 10% of American brides got a diamond ring. By 2000, it was over 80%. De Beers hadn't discovered a new use for carbon. They had engineered a cultural tradition out of thin air, and for a century, the story held, until a factory in Henan province decided to grow the lie in a machine. Here is what should make the diamond industry genuinely uncomfortable. China did not stumble into this. It looked at a 100-year-old monopoly, identified the structural weakness, and built a machine to exploit it. The weakness: a diamond is just carbon, extremely organized, extremely pressurized carbon, but carbon. If you can recreate the mantle's conditions, you can grow a diamond anywhere, including a factory. There are 2 ways. HPHT, high pressure, high temperature. You squeeze a carbon source under 50,000 atmospheres, heat it to 1,500 degrees Celsius, and wait. The carbon reorganizes into a diamond crystal. You are doing in weeks what the Earth takes billions of years to do. CVD, chemical vapor deposition. You place a diamond seed in a chamber, fill it with carbon-rich gas, and ignite a plasma ball with microwaves. Carbon atoms rain down onto the seed, building a diamond 1 atomic layer at a time. A 3D printer that prints in carbon. Both produce stones that are chemically, physically, and optically identical to mined diamonds. The Gemological Institute of America, the industry's own certification body, confirms they are the same material. The difference can only be detected with advanced spectroscopic screening, not by any jeweler's loupe. So what happens when you scale that? China found out. Henan province had produced industrial synthetic diamonds for drill bits since the 1960s. The factories, the PhDs, the supply chains were already there. In the early 2010s, they cracked the code for colorless, high-clarity, jewelry-grade stones. Once that barrier fell, Chinese manufacturing scale took over. By 2023, China was producing over 22 million carats of lab-grown diamond rough per year, more than 70% of global lab-grown output. Henan province alone accounts for 80% of China's production. One province in central China is now the diamond capital of the world. And when you produce 70% of the global supply of something that used to cost thousands per carat, what happens to the price? In 2018, a 1-carat lab-grown diamond sold for roughly $4,200 on the wholesale market. By early 2025, that same stone wholesales for as little as $168. That is a 96% collapse in 7 years. At retail, a 1-carat lab-grown ring that sold for a slight discount to natural in 2017 now sells for 80 to 90% less. In mainland Chinese stores right now, a 1-carat lab-grown stone retails for around $518, less than 1/10 the price of a comparable mined stone. To make that real, if petrol dropped 90%, a full tank would cost what a coffee costs today. If a London to Lagos flight dropped 90%, the ticket would be cheaper than your phone bill. This is not a correction, it is a collapse. And the crash isn't staying in the lab-grown aisle. It is dragging natural diamonds down with it, because once a consumer sees two identical stones side by side, one mined, one grown, and the grown one is 10 times cheaper, the only argument for the mined stone is the story, the geology, the billions of years. And that argument is getting harder to sell to a generation that asks a very simple question. Why would I pay 10 times more for the same thing? De Beers has tried to answer. They launched Real is Rare to sell emotional value. They built Diamond Proof, a countertop device to prove a stone is natural. And in 2024, they deepened their Tracer blockchain platform, partnering with GIA to trace every natural stone's origin so buyers can verify exactly where it came from. The blockchain pivot tells you everything. The world's most powerful diamond company is now using technology to fight technology, because geology alone is no longer enough. Here is where the numbers stop being abstract and become a crisis. At the end of 2024, De Beers was sitting on $2 billion of unsold natural diamonds, the largest stockpile since the 2008 financial crash. CEO Al Cook told the Financial Times directly, "It has been a bad year for rough diamond sales." That is the kind of understatement you only make when you know the full picture. Revenue fell 13% year over year in 2024. The company posted an underlying EBITDA loss of $189 million in the first half of 2025, compared to a $300 million profit the year prior. Production guidance was slashed from 33 million carats planned down to 20 million produced, a cut of more than a third. Then came the jobs. Over 1,000 positions cut at Debswana, the joint venture with Botswana that has been an economic pillar for decades. Russia's Alrosa saw profits plunge nearly 80%, a collapse driven by the same structural demand shift, compounded severely by Western sanctions and G7 import bans. Smaller miners entered administration entirely. The natural diamond industry, as a system, is in genuine distress. Now ask yourself, if the company that controlled 90% of global supply and invented the engagement ring through marketing force is sitting on $2 billion of stones it cannot move, what does that tell you about the story it's been selling? It tells you the story is losing. For the first time in over a century, the story is losing. Here is the part almost nobody is covering, and it changes the picture completely. The CVD reactors in Henan, the exact same machines growing diamonds for wedding rings, are simultaneously being used to grow synthetic diamond wafers for AI chip cooling and high-voltage power electronics. Think about what that means. Diamond is the ultimate thermal conductor, 5 times better than copper. As AI chips, GPUs, power devices, push power densities to the limit, silicon cooling hits a wall. Synthetic diamond heat spreaders are the only viable solution for the next generation of data centers. China did not just build a jewelry industry, it built dual-use manufacturing infrastructure. Every reactor that grows a 1-carat bridal stone can pivot to growing a 150mm wafer for an NVIDIA H100 successor or a hypersonic missile's power module. This is industrial strategy at scale. The West treated diamonds as a commodity business tied to geology. China built diamond growth as a semiconductor materials business tied to manufacturing capability. The price crash you see in jewelry stores? That is merely the visible exhaust of a strategic capability that now sits at the center of the AI arms race. Companies like Element 6, De Beers' own synthetic division, and Chinese firms like Huanghe Whirlwind and Zhengzhou Sino Crystal are already qualifying diamond wafers for major foundries. The jewelry market was just the low barrier entry point that paid for the reactor farms. Let's go back to that store window. The $10,000 stone is still there. The certificate still says, billions of years old. The marketing still whispers rare. But right next to it, sometimes in the same case, sits the same stone. same carbon, same structure, same sparkle. For $800, one province in central China made that happen. Not by accident, by looking at a monopoly built on manufactured scarcity and asking a single engineering question: what if we just grew one instead? De Beers is now using blockchain to prove its stones are real. It cut production by a third. It's sitting on $2 billion of inventory. It's cutting jobs in Botswana. And the reactors in Henan? They don't care about the marketing campaign. They don't care about forever. They just grow carbon into diamonds, around the clock, at a cost of a few $100s a carat. Now, the question I genuinely want you to answer in the comments. De Beers is betting everything on one argument: that a diamond pulled from the ground is fundamentally different from one grown last Tuesday, even though science says they are identical. Is that argument worth 10 times the price? Because here is what that question is really asking. Is value in the object or in the story we agreed to tell about the object? And if the story is the only difference, how long can it hold when everyone can see it falling apart in real time? Drop your answer below. This is the kind of question people genuinely disagree on, and the argument in the comments is always worth reading. If this changed how you think about something you've worn, bought, or plan to buy, share it with one person who should see this. The jewelry industry is hoping you never ask the question China just forced onto the table. And there is more, because the same playbook that crashed diamonds, state-backed manufacturing scale plus dual-use tech transfer, is already hitting industries far larger, far more powerful, and far less prepared. Semiconductors, solar, pharmaceuticals, green hydrogen. Subscribe so you don't miss what we cover next.